Welcome to Mom's Writers Club. I'm Sarah,
And I'm Jessica.
and today we are going to talk about author websites and platform. So, we're going to jump right in with author websites. We've had a lot of questions about this on Mom's Writers Club about putting together an author website, what should be on your website, when you should have a website, as in before you get published or after you get published or agented or whatever. So, we're going to address a lot of those things. We're going to work in a lot of the questions that we received on Mom's Writers Club. So here we go. So I wanted to start out with a quote. So this is a really good resource for putting together an author platform, including a website. So this is Jane Friedman's The Business of Being a Writer. Big
I
fan
have
of
to
this
say,
book.
yeah, if you are a writer, you should read this book. It tells you about so many things, like far beyond just platform too, like just about every aspect of being a writer and being in the publishing industry.
And she quotes the Roman philosopher Seneca, who says that luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So I think of the author website as being all about preparation, right? And then when opportunity comes to meet you, then those two things go together.
So I didn't have an author website for a long time. And I know that there are agents that don't care at all if you have an author website when they get your query and are reading your manuscript. But I've heard from others that like they take it as like a very good sign that you have one and that you are invested in the business that is writing books.
Again, like so many other things, this is not a make or break. Oh, an author website is not what's going to get you an agent or get you a book deal. These are just all elements that you can control that can just up your odds a little bit.
So for me, I basically wanted to have a brief bio up talking a little bit about myself, and we'll get more in depth in all this stuff. I wanted to like have a place to put any thoughts that I wanted to share with other writers or anyone who might one day read my stuff. I wanted an easy way for people to contact me, and I wanted like a central location that linked to all of my online things,
Mhm.
such as like all my social media.
Right.
So if someone saw me, they could easily find my Instagram.
Right. So I think a good way to think about it is this is a place where somebody can go if they are thinking about offering you an opportunity. And that opportunity can be an agent thinking about offering you representation or requesting your manuscript. That could be a local newspaper wanting to interview you because you just published something. It could be a magazine that wants you to write a piece for them. Who knows? So if you come at it like that, like you are doing them a service by having a website. A lot of people say, but I haven't published anything. Like it just feels weird to have an author website and call myself an author because I haven't published anything. So before you've published anything and before anybody knows anything about you as a writer, before you even like told your spouse, that is the perfect time to build your website because there's a learning curve to building a website. And
Mm-hmm.
you can get through a lot of the learning curve in total anonymity if you do it early, right?
I like the way you put that.
You can work out like what your design is, your fonts, whether you want to put author on there, what you want to call yourself. You can tweak your bio, you can update your picture, all that stuff. There's a whole learning curve that goes with it. And the more of it you get through in anonymity, the better, because then when you start querying or you publish something and people start going to your website, then you've worked out some of the kinks already.
Yeah, it also allowed me to have a better idea of what I was interested in doing. I originally thought I was going to do a blog and quickly realized that I don't have the time or the desire
Yeah.
to regularly post a blog. So
Yes,
I
we'll
just
talk a
do
little
like
more about
little,
that.
yeah. And that if anything, I feel like kind of Instagram is my blog, snippets of my life and thoughts on writing.
So, what if you totally suck at tech, right? Like, what if you are one of the many of us that's like, oh my God, build a website. Like, I can't afford to hire somebody and I suck at it, or I don't have time, or whatever. So, Jess and I have various opinions about that and about what works. I find I use a service called Wix, Wix.com, and it's really easy. And Jess and I have both tried out WordPress, which I think used to be more user friendly than it
I
is.
do know, yeah, and I know a few people, and I don't know if they're using the old version, who still swear by it. So we're
A
not
lot
trying
of
to say
people
it's
do.
not good.
And I have
Yeah.
read that WordPress has possibly more powerful search engine optimization or SEO just because it's so big. And there's also the advantage that it's been around a while. It's going to continue to be around for a long time. It's the dominant platform. I just found it impossible to learn how to
Yeah.
use. Like, it was way too much of a learning curve for me, and I'm fairly comfortable, with, basic design.
Yeah. I used to design websites. Like I would do code and stuff, and I found it
Oh, I
very
did not
difficult.
know that about you.
Yeah, it was a while ago. But yeah, I mean, I used to design not a lot, not professionally, but like I did it and they looked
Mhm.
good. And I found WordPress this time around. I feel like we're trashing on WordPress. That's not my intention. I could not use it. Like I was so frustrated with it. I use Squarespace now, and I briefly looked at like how Sarah's is set up. I think it's very similar to what.
Okay, so this is the first time we've done a little screen sharing on our Moms Writers Club YouTube channel, but I wanted to share the editor for Wix.com, which Jess says is pretty similar to the editor for Squarespace. This is my website in the editor mode. So, like, I can go in here and I can edit stuff, right? And whoops, let's not screw it up. It's really simple. These are all drag and drop. It's kind of almost like setting up a PowerPoint slide. There's text boxes and there's photo elements and stuff like that. You have to upload your images, but you can put them in there. You can size them. You can change your text. It's really easy for me to go in here to this big block of text and change stuff. And I did when I became agented, and I did when we sold my book. So I now have a little pitch for my book, and also my bio down here. I have changed around this page a million times.
And it's super easy to do it too.
It's so easy.
Don't
And
let
then I
being
just,
afraid of building the website be a reason not to do it. It's pretty simple
yeah,
to do it. They have like tutorials that will take you step by step, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You can literally just have like an about me page and a contact page and
yeah,
links to your Twitter and Instagram, and that's it. Like it doesn't have to be a big thing, especially at this point. It can be very basic, and you
yes.
do not have to like constantly post stuff to it. You don't have to run a blog or whatever.
No. So we're going to go to the actual live site of my website. And so it's great that you were just saying that, because a lot of people ask, like, well, okay, like, fine, I'll do a website, but what should be on my website? Like, I don't know what to put on there. So there's a certain minimum that I think that we think should be on there. One is a page with your bio. And we did get a question that was like, well, if it's just a bio and a contact page, then what's the point of having a website? Well, this is way more than 280 characters, right? This is way more than they allow you to put in your profile notes in Instagram or Twitter. This is your chance to kind of spread out a little bit, control your own narrative, let people get to know you a little more in depth than they can in the confines of a social media platform. This is also your chance to have it look exactly the way you want it to look, rather than to look like a Twitter profile or an Instagram
Yeah,
profile.
definitely.
So we've got a homepage. My homepage used to just be like a homepage with a bunch of pictures on it, and you had to click on something to go to my about page. I decided that was dumb, that if somebody was going to go to my website, they should land on a picture and a bio.
That's how mine is too. My about page is my
And
homepage.
we're going to look at Jess's website in just a second because we love it. Then we have a contact page. So neither Jess nor I have found it practicable to do a blog. There is a lot of conflicting advice out there about having a blog. And I think Jane Friedman has a good take on it, in that she says, if you have really the energy and time and like the juice to write a lot and post a lot to your blog and really get it going, then it can be a great tool. But unless you have that energy and time to
And the
post
desire.
a lot and the desire, yeah.
Yeah, I have no desire to run a blog where I posted once a week. Although I know some Moms Writers Club people do it and they have great articles. And I think for them it's wonderful.
Yes, and so if you have the juice for it, then great. But if you feel like it's an obligatory thing, don't bother.
Yeah.
It's not going to make the difference. So, so I stole this idea from Jess. So let's hop over to Jess's page now. This is her dramatic, awesome thriller writer.
Okay, you guys, this
photo.
photo is actually from a murder mystery party I
Oh my
hosted
God, I
about
love
5 years ago. And I was the villain, I think. So I like had lots of makeup on and like did my like sassy pose. And
You're
when
a
I was
little
trying to find,
Betsy
because
Buckdraft.
I haven't had professional photos done yet. I will get to eventually, but I like went through them. This used to have an awful background. Someone on Fiverr, I think, gave me a new background. I love this photo, even though I also like giggle a little every time I see it.
It's great.
But I love it.
But I mean, look, it's so straightforward. It's exactly what you come to a website for, right? Like
Click,
name, photo, bio.
click on the news and writers
So
resources.
that's what I was. So I stole from Jess rather than having like a blog or something like that. We have a page that says news, and I have a page that says news on mine. So if I want to go into a little more detail about something, then I have a forum to do that.
Yeah. So for me, it was like sometimes when I have time and energy, I like to talk a little bit about kind of
Okay.
like I did an article on how I got my agent, and that was something I wanted to go on my website, but I felt like that was kind of news, like, hey, I got an agent, but
Oh,
also like I don't want to constantly update it. But then like the page before this had a mention of like podcasts I like, and that's kind of more
mhm.
writer resources. The other thing you can do, and I know how to do it on Squarespace. So scroll all the way down. You can add in like a newsletter link, like
Right
it's a
there.
little bit above that if you want to. You don't have to do newsletters. We'll talk about that another time. But
Right.
I've
We've,
heard it's good
we've
advice.
we've both chosen to do this similarly at this point in our writing careers, where we're giving ourselves and others an opportunity to to be connected via email.
Yes. And I like the way Jane Friedman put it. I've always felt really weird about sending out a newsletter to people, especially right now, because I mean, I have an agent and, I will at some point have a book out, but like I don't yet. But
Mhm.
she put it really well when she said, this is people basically like volunteering because they want to be connected with
Yes.
you. So
Yes.
I do specify that like I'm not going to send out a lot of stuff because I don't want to. And honestly, it annoys me when I get an email once a week from anyone, like
Yeah.
if it's a company,
Yeah.
from anyone. I just don't want it. So
So if there is an author that you like and you saw on Twitter that, or your friend or something, and you saw on Twitter that their book is coming out next year,
yeah,
and you want to be like, oh, I really am going to want to read that book, and I don't want to miss it. Like I want to hear about it when it comes out because I'm going to forget it's a year away, right? That would totally be me. You can go to that author's website and get on their email list,
yes.
right? So that's kind of the
So
point of it for Jess and I at this point.
yeah.
I don't feel like I don't have much of service to put in an email newsletter, to put in a regular thing. But I
Yeah.
do want to give people the opportunity to be on my email list so that they can hear from me.
Yeah, and I will also add, I can see a lot about like who visits my website and what they like. I can't see that like, oh, Sarah's on my website, but I can see
Right.
someone from like, her part of the country is there. Can you scroll down more? I
Mhm.
can also see when someone signs up. And it is shocking to me how many people, like at least a few a week, which isn't a lot, but like people regularly subscribe to my newsletter,
Wow.
which it's kind of
Uh-huh.
like to see that. Yeah. So it's neat to see people go. So if you scroll
Yeah.
up, sorry, a little more, you can see I also have my Instagram
Yeah, it's your
on here.
Instagram feed. Yeah, this is cool.
Yes. I
I
love
tried
taking
doing that on
photos.
mine, but my Instagram feed isn't as pretty as yours.
Um,
So I
well,
didn't.
I post a lot on Instagram. So I like that I
Yeah.
could add that because it adds like a little personality and a little bit about me, I think. Just some things you might want to consider putting on it. I have so on the top right, you can see the
The social
little
media links.
yeah, the
Yes.
social media links. But I also list them out here. I list who I'm represented by and a link to her her agency page. And then I have a form here if people want to contact me.
Yep.
I did for a while have my email address and I got some really strange emails. I find the
I
form
have
to
never
be,
had my email address. I've always only had
yeah, I don't recommend it. I
yeah.
just got weird emails from
Yeah,
having it up.
don't put your personal email.
The form is super easy to set up through, at least through Squarespace. It's very easy. I suspect it is through Wix as well.
So one question we got from Moms Writers Club was, what should I post about my book on my author website? What should I post if I'm querying? What should I post if I'm represented? What should I post if I'm on submission with an agent?
I think that there's more than one answer to this. I err on the side of nothing. Like I talk about how I'm writing the next book, or I might talk about how it's set in the Pacific Northwest, but I do not give details on my book.
So it sounded like you were just talking about your work in progress, but
Yeah. So you mean the one that I have been revising with my agent to go on
yes,
sale?
yes.
So I don't talk about that either.
No, not at all.
No, not on my website. So it's up to you.
Yeah.
I have been given the advice not to talk a lot about it. I even pulled down my pitches from the pitch events I've been involved in with the past that have details on it. And that's to protect myself and to protect my work. I think it's got a good hook
Mm.
and I bet nobody would ever steal it, right? But what if I'm wrong? And I have heard stories of it happening, super rare stories that probably nobody could prove that's what had happened. But I don't talk about my book. at all on social media for the most part. Like people know what genre it is.
Yeah.
They know it's set in the Pacific Northwest. They might know like one or two details, but I mean, what does it really do for you? Like your agent knows what it's about. When
Mhm.
you're on sub, editors are going to get a pitch letter. Like there's really no reason
True.
to
Mhm.
post about it.
What about when you're querying?
Like talking about it on the website.
Yeah, like
More
having a short, having like your, one of your pitch contest pitches on your website
Yeah, I
or
mean,
something similar.
I think you can, but I also don't think agents are randomly searching and going to people's websites to look for
True. So
people.
they will already have your query letter if they're going to your website.
Yeah, I just don't think there's a reason for it. I think it is, it's your intellectual property.
Mhm.
You can put out as much as you feel comfortable with. I know some people are more comfortable putting details out there. I honestly probably side on much more on the side of caution than other people do. It's really what you're comfortable with. Like my critique partners know all about my book. They've read it. I don't have a problem sending it to people like that. But
I think while I was querying, I had a sentence or two in my bio saying, latest work is a such and such genre book about such and such themes, comp to such and such, right?
that's pretty minimal.
And
I feel like that's really appropriate.
and I am seeking representation.
I think though that your book is you can describe it that way because of
Yeah,
the type of book it is. Whereas I think a thriller does not translate as well into like saying these are the themes I'm exploring in this.
yeah, exactly,
Whereas for
exactly.
me,
So
I'm
it
more
really
like I don't want to reveal my plot twist.
Right, exactly. So it depends on what you write and sort of the nature of what you write. So since we sold my book and now there is a pitch on Publishers Marketplace for it, I feel pretty comfortable having that pitch on my website, and that's essentially what's on there
Yeah,
with a couple of
that makes sense. I think part of it too is like my agent has worked with me a lot on my book, so I feel like if I were to put something up, it would be rude to her as well. I
Oh,
guess.
you would want, yeah, you would maybe want her permission.
Yeah,
Yeah, my feeling about having that little short sort of Publishers Marketplace type synopsis on there is, and actually this points to the website serves different purposes at different points in your writing career. So while you're querying, it may be just a place to have an extended bio and to give potential agents more of a feel for who you are and what else you do, and that you're just kind of a professional, nice person. While you're on submission, it may serve the same purpose, but once you've sold your book, it starts to feel as if it's morphing into being a publicity tool.
definitely. And
So,
I think most publishers want authors to have a website now.
yeah,
So as far as like what we were saying before, I think before that pressure is on is a good time to do it.
yeah, exactly. Um, so I'm sort of starting to look at it like, let's say my little hometown newspaper wants to interview me when my book comes out. Like, wouldn't that be fun? And they can go to my website and they can get a feel for what the book is about.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's great.
and I think all in all, the way to come at an author website, and this is from somebody who was super squeamish about putting myself out there and putting author next to my name, and I felt like
And
a
now you have a
total
YouTube channel.
fraud. But this was like 5 years ago, right? When I was just starting out, and I was like, oh, website, like I feel like such a faker. But I think, and this is kind of what I wish I had thought of at the time. It just would have like settled my imposter syndrome a little bit, which is that this is a service. That the website is not a vanity project for you. It's a service to other people because you are a writer, you write things, those things are eventually going to get read, and you are going to have people who are interested in your work. And you want somewhere where they can go to learn more about you and about your work and connect to the different places where you are active and find out what else you've published. And your website is a service to those people. So let's say you put together a website. Like, is there anything that you shouldn't do? Is there anything that you should not put on a website?
I don't think you should put your book or really any part of your book on your website. I know some people will post like first pages, and that always makes me a little uncomfortable because I think so much of your book is expressed in doing that. And I have heard, and I do not know if this is true, but that counts as it being published.
That
I
does
totally
count
don't know
as
if that's
being
true.
published. There may be agents and publishers willing to make exceptions, but if you serialize your novel on your website, that counts as publishing. That
Yeah.
makes it a self-published novel. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. But just be aware of that, that if you're looking for an agent and a publisher, they may consider that already published if you've serialized it on your website. If you have a short story and you post it on your website, then literary magazines may consider that already published and therefore not eligible. So be
Yes.
aware of that when you think about posting your work on your website. That's the only major caveat.
Don't be a butthead. Don't be an
Don't
asshole.
be a butthead. Don't be an
I mean,
uptight.
don't be it, period. But don't post stuff like that on your website. Like,
Just be
be
kind.
smarter than that.
Be kind to yourself and to other people. So moving on to platform, which is more, let's see.
Maybe more about social media to some
Right.
extent. I guess
It's
we're
more
just
of an
shifting.
abstract concept. So the way I think about platform is also highly informed by Jane Friedman. And she's got a terrific blog as well about, and a great newsletter, all this stuff about sort of publishing industry stuff. And I sort of think of platform as the sum total of your relationships with other people, using the word relationships very, very broadly, right? It can be people who just follow you on Instagram and you've never seen them and you never will, but they love your pictures and they have a relationship with you.
Yeah.
Or it may be your real life friends on Facebook, or it may be like your friends that you've made on Twitter, like people that you interact with on Twitter. It could be just people who tend to like your posts on Twitter. It could, all of those people are your platform.
Yeah. I think your platform shifts over time too. At this point, when we are trying to get agents or trying to sell a book, your platform is probably largely going to be made up of your community, kind of like Sarah said. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that getting on these platforms like Instagram and Twitter, you can make a lot of connections. Sarah and I met through Twitter. So it's not, don't think of it as like how you're advertising yourself necessarily. Like you do need to think
No.
about how you present to people and to the world at large. And we can talk a little more about that. But a lot of it is just making connections,
Right.
making friends, making writer friends.
And think of it as being other focused. So that you're reaching out and that you're interested in other people and in making connections with other people. So it's not all about like, here's me, here's my stuff, buy my
Yeah.
stuff.
Like it's fun to post your photos on Instagram, but if you never like comment or like interact with anybody about what they post, like
Mhm.
it's a give and take. It's becoming involved in it. So don't do something you don't want to do. If you
Yeah.
hate posting photos, then don't do Instagram. So I was scared of Twitter when I first started doing Twitter. So I mostly posted on Instagram because I love taking photos of everything and posting about them. So that was like a really easy way for me to get involved in the writing community. And then I moved over to Twitter and Moms Writers Club. We got that going, and that has been wonderful. I've formed so much community around that. But you'll notice like I don't post a lot of like cute little quips because my mind just doesn't work that way. I'm not that
And I'm
clever in the moment or about my own life. Although, gosh, I had something this weekend I should have shared. Everyone, my daughter pooped behind a tree at a playground.
awesome.
Okay,
At least she
moving on.
pulled her pants down.
She pulled her dress up and didn't poop on her dress. That was like a high five moment.
She put the poop where it belongs, which is on the ground behind the tree and not.
We're ready to go camping.
So I'm sort of flipped the other way around. Like I'm more comfortable on Twitter than I am on Instagram, but I like Instagram, and Instagram is where a lot of the like serious readers hang out. And I love looking at all their pictures of books and all the stuff that they're reading. And so I'm sort of warming up to that
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah. And be willing to stretch your wings. Like you'll meet people and learn, and it takes time and it's intimidating, but it's okay. I've also heard great things about TikTok. I know we have some Moms Writers Club members on there. I am not on there. I can't imagine posting videos of myself, I say as I talk into
I
a
think
video.
I'm on TikTok in my 14-year-old daughter's videos. She loves to make videos where like I'm in the background, on my computer and she's doing something and I'm like back here in the
That's
background.
so
Like
funny.
she
What
loves
is she doing? That is
loves putting
hilarious.
me in her videos. It's really fun.
Someone also asked a question about Pinterest as a platform. And I am not like a huge Pinterest person. I do occasionally make like aesthetic boards for books, or I have in the past. I don't think as an author, it is super helpful to have Pinterest. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do think like established authors sometimes will be like, here's my board that has to do with this book, but they're also established and have readers who are like going to go look at it. But I don't see Pinterest as a way to connect with other writers.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but I've never done that, even though I am on Pinterest.
I think the main thing with thinking about social media and website and everything and platform is that it really is about being yourself and connecting to other people. And it does not, it may feel awkward at first. It certainly did for me. It may take you time to feel comfortable in that space and to feel comfortable being yourself, kind of knowing that, like, Jess and I were super cringy when we started this YouTube channel. We were like, oh, this is so weird. I
I'm
gotta
afraid
put
to go
makeup
back and
on.
watch the
It's
first episode. Yeah, we have two. I think we recorded 2 episodes we never posted that,
yeah,
that we knew we weren't going to post. We were like, this is for us to screw up.
right. We just tested stuff out, and we certainly have gotten more comfortable. And you will, like, take your time, make it work for you. There's no, again, not a make or break thing for your success as an author, right? You could be
Yeah.
completely invisible and you could still write a great book that an
Yeah.
agent will love, that a publisher will love, that readers will love.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not required, but most publishers are encouraging it.
yeah,
at this
but it's just, another thing that you can control and that can maybe increase your odds a little bit.
I'm also going to encourage people to think about what you are posting. Recognize that anyone in the world can see anything you post on Twitter, Instagram, and there are like ways to make things private. But if you are creating these to like be your author versions of yourself, they're probably going to be public. I know I've mentioned it before. I don't put my daughter's face on social media. So consider what you are comfortable with. Keep that in mind. If you take a picture of your house, you're telling people where you live. Like that's an address that they can look up on Google Maps. So be cautious with what you're posting. One thing that really helped me, and I don't remember where I read this, but it was basically talking about like creating an author brand. And so far as something like Instagram, that might mean you have 3 or 4 themes you pretty much stick to. And that is what readers or people who are coming to visit your Instagram come to expect from you. And it's also the sort of thing that when done well, they might be able to see a photo you've posted and know immediately that it's you based off of the sort of thing it is. So I realized I was doing this unconsciously. So I often post photos of my dogs and cats. I post photos of the books I'm reading, usually like me trying to do like a fancy photo shoot, which usually is not nearly as fancy as the great bookstagrammers out there. I usually do like a throwback Thursday or flashback Friday of like a photo of me rock climbing or running because I love those things and I don't get to do them as much in Texas. I like to post photos of running at night. Well, I guess early in the morning it would be the better way to put it when I get out and run in the dark because they can
Yeah.
feel kind of creepy, which is fun.
So I think maybe we'll close out talking a little bit about brand. And
Yeah.
this is like the most abstract of the concepts that we've sort of gone through on this video, brand. And so there's tons of great resources out there for like branding. There's websites and blogs and seminars and everything. But for the purpose of Moms Writers Club, I was thinking we could step back a couple of steps from all that stuff because the real struggle that I had in the beginning was, again, like this squeamishness about a brand and having a brand, and is like how weird that felt at first. And I kind of wish I could have skipped over some of that awkwardness in the beginning if I kind of understood what it meant a little better. And again, Jane Friedman has a great take on it, and Jess actually said something very, very similar to what Jane says in her book, completely unprompted, which is that brand is expectation.
Yeah, it's
So
how someone thinks of you. Like think of your favorite author. What 3 things remind you of your favorite author? You know, that's their brand.
right. What do you expect of them? How do you expect them to be? What do you expect them to write? Like Stephen King, what do you expect him to write? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody
Like,
knows that.
yeah.
Nora Roberts, what do you expect her to write? What do you expect her covers to look like? What do you expect from an interview with her?
And then think of how that translates to social media and like think about how you want to be perceived
Right.
and share those parts of your life. You don't have to share everything.
Right. So you can think about that. You can think about, well, what do I want people to expect of me? And that can be very genuine to who you are,
I
make
would recommend it is genuine.
yeah.
Like what parts of you who are really you do you feel comfortable sharing and represent you and your writing well?
Yes.
I like to run in the dark, which is kind of creepy, which is kind of like a thriller or a suspense novel. So like
Yes.
I do that, and all my books are based in the Pacific Northwest. So I share photos of the Pacific Northwest, which I also love doing.
And I swear a lot and talk about mental health.
You swear so much, you guys.
I do. I mean, I really I'm not censored on my Twitter posts and stuff. I have a kind of a snarky, literate voice, and I don't know quite how to define my brand, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, and it is a work in progress.
It
And these
is
things,
totally a work in progress.
um, you're not stuck on anything. You can
It's
mold
just
yourself as you go.
yeah, and as you're building your social media interactions and your website and everything, you can just sort of have that in the back of your mind. Like, of all this stuff that I'm putting out there, what kind of expectations is it creating in other people? And that's kind of a good way to start thinking about brand.
So we have a few questions. We're not going to use all of them because a lot of them we worked into it. We like looked at them ahead of time and worked them into the little conversation we've had.
And thank
But
you very
Megan,
much for asking them. If
yes,
we hit on them already, I
yeah,
definitely added some stuff in as I was looking at the comments that came through on Moms Writers Club.
yeah, we really appreciate when people give us their questions. It makes it easier for us to, provide this and know what people want us to talk about. Megan asks the best place to get started. It feels incredibly overwhelming. And I think she meant for social media and platform. And I would say, you have a Twitter page. You've already started. Just post and comment and like. And if you don't have an Instagram, consider doing that, or do a basic author website like we talked about. I think I made my initial author website in less than half an hour on Squarespace. And I would like to add a lot of the websites are free. If you want like your own URL, like mine is jessicapayne.net, that does cost because you're purchasing the rights to the URL. But I think to have a regular WordPress site is free,
Yeah.
but it has .wordpress.com in the actual URL.
Yeah.
Belinda asked, websites pre-agent, is it really necessary? We kind of talked about that. I don't think it's necessary.
No. Advisable, yes.
Peyton asked how to get the most out of social media and email newsletters without sacrificing writing time. So I think we're going to do a separate episode on newsletters, but for social media, I say like try to post a few times a week. Like just decide that you're going to post every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then follow through with that. And take photos throughout the week of things you might want to share. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. As far as email newsletters, once you get set up, like I use MailChimp, and once you get set up, I don't touch it. I don't do anything. People subscribe, and once every month or two, I write up a quick thing and I hit send, and it automatically sends everything for me. You can get way more involved if you want to, but you do not have to. So Ralph asked, can you talk more about platform building while out on sub and you can't talk about the book as much? I don't think it really changes from before you're on sub. Like, yep, you can't talk about your book, but just be involved. And Ralph, you are super involved. So I'd say you're doing a great job. He runs the 5 a.m. Writers Club. They have donut parties, which are like virtual, and they talk about different topics and they sound wonderful. I haven't been able to attend one, but I think you're doing it.
Yeah.
Let me see.
One thing I wanted to make sure to say was that as writers, we tend to think a lot about writing and write a lot about writing and read a lot about writing and connect with a lot of other writers. It's worth kind of thinking about putting other parts of your life out there, maybe for people who aren't writers who want to connect with you. So if you're into running, so we're both into running. We're both nurses. I have, great fondness for Finland.
Yeah.
Things like
Talk
that.
about the things you love, because
Other
you'll find
ways,
people who love them too.
exactly, ways to kind of broaden your network beyond just other writers. Of course, other writers are awesome, and I love you guys.
Yeah. So those are actually all the questions we had, and I think everything else we already answered. But if you have any other questions about this, we are happy to answer them. Drop them below, send us a message on Twitter, or during Moms Writers Club, you can mention it. Or if you have any other suggestions for topics or questions about anything, we obviously like talking about writing and being writers.
I think that's all we got for today. I hope this has been useful, and we may be breaking this out into more in-depth episodes in the future. So we'd love to hear from you what you'd like to hear more of, what you'd like to learn more about.
Yeah, or if you want us to talk more in depth about anything we mentioned today, just let us know. One way you can build your author platform is to make more writing friends, and you can do that on our Wednesday night chats. Every other Wednesday, go to my pinned post on Twitter to find out when the next one is. I am at author Jess Payne.
And I am at Sarah Reed Author.
And I hope we see you there soon. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.